All right. It says we're live.
Yeah, lies.
All right. That's a little bit better. Now
We
we'll wait.
skipped two sections, and YouTube gets off in a snit fit.
Yeah. Yeah, Jesse. We said it could not go live stream, which was interesting.
Live stream not available or some such.
Yeah. Welcome to the world of high tech. Yeah.
Take two.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll wait till a few more people get back over here.
Frantically hitting refresh.
Yeah, back to the normal camera. Don't need to look at my nose hairs for an hour.
All right. To keep the heat on at the blanket fort, because Jonna's coming back and she doesn't want to come into a meat locker. Also, if you like coffee, get a hold of these guys. Tell them you heard about it here. Maybe they'll send us some more free coffee.
Yeah. All right. So now we got a few people back. But I want to start off with something. Well, actually, two things before you get a chance to go batshit nuts.
Because this one's apparently going to be watched by a lot of people.
Yeah. First of all, thank you to those 1.5 times playback to catch up. Okay. Shit, I think their squirrels have invaded my headspace. Anyway, thank you to those who subscribed.
Osmosis.
We're up over 400 subscribers now.
Oh, God.
Yeah, for something that was
2 years ago, it was just something that we're going to do for 6 months, keep everybody calm.
And now we're 2 years into it with over 400 people that subscribe to it.
And thanks to Times Record News, I'm willing to bet a whole bunch of those are out of Wichita County.
I don't know. But anyway, 5,000 viewers show up and I'll have a conniption fit right in on camera.
No kidding.
Sorry.
You want to pick up that lung?
Yeah. Getting over the court bug that everybody
court
got.
Crud.
But the other thing I want to talk for a second about is we're now getting into the sad season. And for those that are not
seasonal affective disorder. I'm not sad in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Shut up. You get your turn in a minute. So a lot of folks are impacted by SAD, seasonally affective disorder. And what it tends to make them do is to retreat because they don't like dealing with the environment, the weather, or anything else.
And they're just depressed is what they are.
Yeah. So if you get that many viewers, you'll need moderators. We've never done anything right on this thing anyway, so stop it.
Yeah, we've actually seen panels where they tell us how to do a live stream, and we know.
I've been on a couple of those panels.
Yeah,
when they go, okay, and here's how not to do it, Jim.
Here we are.
Yeah. So anyway, seasonally affected disorder. Folks are starting to retreat into themselves. This is not a good thing. So I'm asking you to do buddy checks on folks. Folks that you know you don't normally contact necessarily, but reach out to folks. Touch base with them, make sure they're all right. And don't make it a one-time deal. This is going to go on for a couple of months till March. Till we start getting some warmth back in this big rock we're on.
And normally for us, the coldest part of winter is generally January, February.
Yep.
We've already been down in single digits. I'm here to tell you, folks, that sucked.
Yeah. That we're doing it all over Rise rules. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. The big blue room has the temperature control busted again. That and the damn administration didn't pay the heating bill.
This administration, you expect to pay any actual bills?
No. So anyway, now that I've had my space in.
For those of you who didn't
know, we go.
I'm going to try to be calm. I am very happy. Good night's sleep well, finally, after 2 years, I'll do that to you. For those of you who don't know, I got acquitted. Got acquitted fairly quickly too.
No, actually, that's Cedar's husband, Sanford. He's hiding off camera.
I got acquitted, found not guilty. It was glorious. It still hasn't shown up on the record yet, but I'm sure they're working on it.
Want my fucking money back.
Okay. Some folks have asked about the one live stream that the reporter found, and I mentioned that they'd been screwing with me. It's probably not the words I used. That they've been screwing with me, and they're wondering how. Well, the whole thing, for one thing. But the interesting part was Jim and Peter put up my cash bond. It was they stuck a $1,500 bond on me. So Jim and Peter all pitched in, and Jim posted a $1,500 bond in cash, and that he would guarantee that I would be at any hearings required, or he would forfeit the bond. Okay. I get arrested. I get indicted and arrested in November of 2020. October of 2021, and for those of you that don't have enough digits, that's 11 months later. October of 2021, I am bebopping around happy as a clam at high tide, and I get a text from my lawyer saying, hey, get there about half an hour early and check with me. And I went, what? And I call him and say, well, what are you talking about? He said, for the hearing tomorrow. And this is at 9:30 at night, folks. 9:30 at night, the day before, I get a text from my lawyer saying, hey, that I knew nothing about. I called Jim and said, hey, is there any paperwork about me having a hearing tomorrow? And Jim said, no. So I called my lawyer. And he had been emailed the docket at 5:30 and had just spotted my name at the end of it and wanted to talk to me. So 4 hours later at 9:30, he sends me a text asking me to show up early. So I show up. I was lucky. If he hadn't have texted me, I wouldn't have shown. Jim would have lost money, and my butt had been back in jail. So 11 months later, I show up for a pretrial conference. I'm annoyed because I didn't know a thing about this.
Yeah,
Jim's annoyed. He didn't know a thing about this.
I was beyond annoyed.
The lawyer's annoyed. And the only one not annoyed is the DA because he's not fucking there. Now, if I hadn't shown, they would have forfeited that bond, thrown my butt in jail. Jim would have lost the money. They would have doubled the bond to get me back out. Lawyer, the DA just he didn't bother to show. Okay, no problem. We discussed it with lawyer. Lawyer's annoyed by the fact that my guarantor sitting over here was not notified. And it was October. Normally, Rita and I are somewhere else in early October. If things had gone just a little bit squirrely, I would be driving back from Colorado, frantically driving back. So as 9:30 at night would have been 8:30 at night, and it's a 7-hour trip. Anyway, so lawyer and I, we discuss it. So he's going to start checking and letting me know. So that was October. March of 2022. That's October, November, December, January, February, March. 5 months later, we get the reset pretrial hearing. And on the first one, when we went in, I said, hey, wrong judge. Supposed to be Judge Brotherton. This is Judge Bernard, not the same judge. Don't worry about it. Okay, go in March. Lawyers keep me appraised. We know ahead of time. Jim still doesn't get notified that he's, as the guarantor and the person who put up the money, still doesn't get notified that I need to be there in March.
I ask questions. I get the,
Yeah. So show up in March. I say, hey, this is Judge Bernard. It's supposed to be in front of Judge Brotherton. Wrong judge. Doesn't matter. DA didn't show. Reset again. And again, if I hadn't shown up, lost money, been in jail, DA just, la, la, la. Okay, so I forget when it got reset. April, May, I forget. It's reset. Go in. Hey, still the wrong judge. It's Judge Bernard, supposed to be from Judge Brotherson. Wrong judge. So this time the DA shows up, offers me a stupid plea bargain. I turned it down fairly emphatically, using words we will not. We're early in the podcast. We won't get into the words I used to turn down the plea bargain.
You've already gone there.
Anyway, so, doesn't matter. DA says, hey, this is the wrong judge. No. So, we get everything settled. Scooch up for a trial in August of 2022. Get ready for the trial. Yay, trial. July, surprise, we can't have the August trial. Well, why not? Because you've been reindicted.
Oh, well, you missed one. You missed the DA recusing himself.
Oh, well, that's, yeah. That DA decided to pull out. Another DA shows up, reindicts me on something else. Takes a look at the indictment, probably went, oh, crap, that one, ooh, we screwed up. Reindicts me on a different charge. So, can't go to trial, but they haven't moved it from the calendar. Anyway, we get that sorted out. And then they keep changing their minds about what they're charging me with. The first one was
Civil rights violation.
Yeah, violation of civil rights of person custody, misdemeanor. And here's the fun part. The felony version of violation of civil rights of person custody was the first of that charge to actually enter the books. And it's basically don't have sex with inmates. If you have sex with inmates, it's a felony. That's the felony version. Now, they came along a little later and said, hey, we need a misdemeanor version to cover everything else. They don't, but they did anyway. So they charged me with the misdemeanor version, which is you did something to violate somebody's civil rights, but it didn't rise to the level of felony. So when they reindicted me, what the media got, and they swear it was a press release, but I have my doubts. The media ran with the felony version. And I actually have a screenshot somewhere where the media said that Lieutenant or Mr. Murphy charged with violation of civil rights of a person in custody, a charge most often associated with sexual misconduct.
Yeah.
I lost my poo. This goes together with the fact that every time the sheriff had a press conference, and he had two of them, he referred to me digitally penetrating the guy's nose. Now, what does digitally penetrating sound like to you? Yeah. So they kept doing that, and then they tied it to, and I lost my cool. And my lawyer contacted the media and got that removed after, I think, probably some legal threats. Anyway, so.
And 2 weeks of time.
Don't get me started. So we are trundling along, and it was I digitally penetrated his nose. And then they reindict me because, maybe that's actually not forbidden. Maybe that's not actually against the law. So they changed it to, well, I hit him in the head. I beat his head on I smashed his head on the concrete, which I didn't. I held his head on the concrete, and I digitally penetrated his nose. That was the official oppression, which they changed it to. So, okay. All right, we got this. We've got this. I've got four subject matter experts, very good ones, national class, if not world class in their fields. And it's like, we got this. And then it's like, okay, no, it was, you taunted him. Or you were smashing his head. Or it was torture. Or they kept changing their minds. And every week we were having to go back and redo our defense because they were changing their minds over what I did bad again. So, long story short. All right, this kid he's 6'3", he's 240 pounds, he's a CrossFit fanatic. He's also what they refer to as a poly drug user. His talk screen, Kelly Grayson, very good friend of ours and one of my expert witnesses, said that his talk screen came back yes. He has decided that his drug abuse has gotten to the point makes an outcry. And so he's getting checked into the local rehab place. And apparently decided to have one last blowout, like you do, right? So he finds some PCP, which I swear to God, I didn't realize was a thing in the 2020s, but apparently PCP's making a comeback, and him got some. He got some PCP. He got some oxycodone, oxys, hillbilly heroin, and his PCP and benzos. I didn't realize Benzedrine was a thing either. Apparently, this guy is really old school. Benzedrine, and then apparently wash it all down with what, near as we can tell, was about 7 liters of vodka. And this is on top of his normal psych meds. Okay, so this guy is, as they say, tripping balls. Winds up at the ER. Gets froggy enough at the ER that on the video we finally got on the very last day, very last couple of days, the hospital video, the hospital security is 3 deep on him. Well, they get worried enough, they call PD. PD shows up because he's feeling a little froggy, and they're deciding what to do with him. It's like, we can just take him back to the rehab and throw him in the front door. Well, during the middle of this discussion, he decides to liberate a taser from one of the PD guys, snatches a taser, and points it at, on the video, it looks like he pointed at another cop. What I read, the affidavit I read said he tried to taser the charge nurse. Either way, he has a taser, he's pointing at people. Guns get drawn, tasers get drawn, and one of the PD officers go charging in, and this guy is a shaved gorilla. I know this guy. He used to work for me. He is a shaved ape. Mongo smash. He goes running in there, goes full Mongo on the guy, because the guy, the critter, in the patrol back seat cam, which we got the last couple of days, tells them that not only did they, quote, beat the shit out of me, apparently they knocked him unconscious. You're not unconscious by kneeling on his chest and punching him in the face. This is kind of important later. Comes to jail. Not only has he been punched until he's unconscious, he's been tasered. Comes to jail. He's large. He's feisty. My officers screwed up the pat down. Missed a taser barb. We throw him off, or they throw him off into a violent tank, a violent cell, so he can detox. Previous to snatching the taser, he had ripped IVs out. He had bilateral IVs, ripped them out. They wrapped his wrists in Kerlix because he was bleeding. They throw him into a seg cell. He starts peeling the Kerlix off. Now, if you're using the medical stuff for the use to which is intended, we can't take it from you. Once you stop using it, or we couldn't, that's not my life anymore. Once you use it it's not being used in the manner intended, it's contraband and becomes ours. So they start taking the Kerlix from it. In the middle of all this, they notice this 6'3", 240-pound CrossFit fanatic, who is also maybe hepatitis B positive, has a taser barb. So they start negotiating. They are trying to talk him out of his taser barb. They go so far as to offer to trade water. Hey, here's some water. Why don't you give us that taser barb? And his response is always, come get it. Now, people ask, why didn't you just leave him in there with a taser barb? We can't. Same reason we can't leave him in there with noose materials, bandages. Because if you're watching him and he goes, it is too late. You have to go get one. You don't want him jamming that taser barb into his radial or carotid vein or artery and ripping it out. You don't want him jamming it into his eyeball because he's on PCP. You want him jamming it in his eyeball and taser barb. It's a fish hook. It's got just like a fish hook's a barb on one, so that when it goes into somebody, it doesn't come out while you're lighting them up. So it's fish hook. Straight out fish hook with a weight on one end. So we can't leave him. We can't leave him with the taser barb. So we negotiate. It ain't happening. Well, we take a pepper ball gun, which is basically a Tippmann 68 caliber paintball loaded with pepper dust, and we pop him through the beanhole. Beanhole is a square slot in the door that food trays could fit through. We pop him through the beanhole, and he gets annoyed. And allegedly, well, on video, not allegedly, on video, you can see him throw something at the door. We weren't watching. We didn't see him throw at the door, but it didn't matter anyway, because he got the PCP started speaking logically, and he snuggles up against the door under the bean slot where we can't get an angle on him. We can't, unless we actually put the pepper ball barrel through the bean slot into, we cannot get an angle on him, and we cannot put the barrel into the cell because he'll grab it. And then that's no fun for anybody. So when he threw the barb at the bottom slot, it did not go through the slot. It did not exit the cell. Did not slide on the door, didn't go to the slot, stayed in the cell. Then he goes over against the door, below the bean slot, snuggled up against the door. All right. So we enter the cell. We go in there, and as soon as we land on him, he jerks his hands under his body. Now, SO practice, common practice, and recommended and approved on multiple dozens, scores, if not hundreds of incidents, when they do that, PPCT, pressure point control tactics, teaches hammer fists to the suprascapular nerve, this nerve on the shoulder blade. You hammer fist the hell out of that. You hit the nerve right, it goes numb, arms come out. So I start dropping elbows on that nerve because years past, I had been doing the exact same thing with hammer fists and wound up breaking my hand. And I had informed command staff after that it hurt my hand to do that. I was worried about breaking it again because once you break it, and I would be using elbow strikes, and nobody command staff had an issue with that. So in there, I'm delivering elbow strikes. We get his hands. We get him handcuffed. We are looking for the barb. The officer with the pepper ball gun who had remained outside the cell, you don't bring the weapon into the cell, had found the barb and slid it out with his boot and apparently told everybody. But between the yelling of, "Let me see your hands," and everything else, we didn't hear him say he had the barb. So we've got this guy handcuffed behind his back. We are searching him for the barb and anything else he might have. He's still fighting. Well, I get tired of this. So I reach over the top of his head, fingers on nose. I pull his head back, and I say, because my squirrels were in charge, and if I'd been thinking, I wouldn't have said this. I said, "If you don't stop this shit, I'm going to rip your spine out and beat you to death with a spongy end." And he said, "I'm sorry," and stopped fighting. I said, "You damn right." I let go because I had achieved the effect I was going for. He stops fighting. We don't find the taser barb. We find out it's outside. We remove everything that needs to be removed. We start taking the cuffs off. As soon as one cuff comes loose, he starts fighting again. Now, folks don't understand that a loose handcuff attached to one wrist and loose swinging from the other is a weapon. It's a deadly weapon, as a point of fact.
Yep.
So I start dropping elbows on him. Elbows, he stops fighting. I stop elbowing him. We unhandcuff him, out the door. All well and good. Now, in every case, when he offered resistance, I did something. The initial resistance, hands under, elbows. He stopped resisting, I stopped the elbows. He starts fighting again, fingers in the nose. He stops fighting, I get my fingers out of his nose. He starts with the loose handcuff, I drop elbows on him. He stops fighting, I stop. Every time he offers, I respond, I stop when he stops. This is textbook, at least for this county. Exit the cell. Get out. Now, a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks earlier, we had a new nurse. And she was big on not verbally berating or harassing inmates. And she had jammed up an officer for verbally belittling an inmate. Well, we walk out of the cell, look over, and guess who's standing there? I said, shit, I'm sorry, guys, because I knew we were about to be investigated for verbally abusing an inmate. I'm sorry. All right. Over and done with. 2-3 hours later, he's been standing at the door bellowing at inmates, and he does what Kelly Grayson refers to as a nesty plunge. He timbers over backwards. Since he's 6'3", he hits the concrete back wall of the cell and splits the back of his head open. We get him loaded. He cusses us the entire time. Back to the hospital. I figure, all right, go home. No problem. So I receive a notice that I am being investigated.
Yeah.
Investigated for policy violation, and I am on suspension. Okay. 3 days investigation, 3 days beach time. What the hell? All right. And it's okay. I'll get a counseling statement for verbally berating an inmate, whatever. Well, week goes by. I call in, say, hey, can I come give my side of the story? Well, we're working on it. 2 weeks go by. I call in, say, hey, can I come in and give my statement? We're working on it. 3 weeks go by. I'm starting to get a little nervous. So I call and say, hey, can I come in and give my statement? We're working on it. 4 weeks go by. I email sheriff and say, hey, I know how this goes. I know exactly how this goes. A month off for policy violation. I know where this is going. So if the investigating officer does not call me in by noon tomorrow, I will tender my retirement. I'll just retire. I know how this goes. Noon, nothing. I take my stuff in, fill out my retirement paperwork, done. Incident happened in March. I retired in April. All over the news. Trust me, sheriff had multiple press conferences. So, trudging along, happy as a clam at high tide, I received my discharge papers from T-Cole, and it says dishonorable discharge. And I went, what? I knew I was going to get a general discharge because I retired while under investigation for a policy violation. I knew it was going to be a general big whoop. It's dishonorable. Retired while being investigated for criminal misconduct. I lose my poo. I contact T-Cole and I want a hearing on this. I want a hearing. I want a hearing. T-Cole contacts me. They contact the DA's office in Wichita County. DA gets in touch with me and say, hey, we'll go ahead and boost this up to a general and mark it as retired while under investigation for a policy violation. Yay, I'm happy. I am a happy boy. November, I'm headed into my new job. I'm actually eating at a chicken place before going to my new job, and I get a phone call, and it said that you've just been indicted. November 2020, misdemeanor indictment. And then it blows into this whole mess. Well, first thing I did, I think the first witness I contacted was Chuck Haggard. Chuck is a legend. And I told him, I said, I want you to look at this. And if I violate any laws, if I had unlawful conduct, tell me and I'll take a plea bargain. I will eat a plea bargain. If I broke the law, let me know. He agrees. I contact Jim Anders. And I tell him the same thing. I say, actually, I contacted him at FoolsCon. What?
John Harper wants to know what T-Cole is.
Oh, Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. Used to be Texas Commission on Law Enforcement Officers Standards and Education. It is the controlling state body for peace officers and jailers. So I actually ran in FoolsCon. We had Jim Anders at FoolsCon. I told him the same thing. If I broke the law, let me know. I will happily eat a plea bargain if I broke the law. He agreed to take a look at it. We still didn't have the case packet. I think Kelly was next.
Yeah.
Contacted Kelly, or Kelly contacted me, and I contacted him and I said, hey, Kelly, do you know anybody that's medical? And he said, the medical expert witness. He said, yeah, me, dumbass. Okay. So contact
I remember that. There were a few other adjectives in that statement too.
So I told him, I told all four of them, same thing. If you see that I did something unlawful, let me know, because the demons of doubt will nibble at me something fierce. How the hell do you get indicted if you didn't do anything wrong, right? So, him, and then Charlie Johnson was next. Charlie, who has apparently an extremely checkered medical career, contact me, and I told him the same thing. If I did something unlawful, let me know. So I got four guys. We finally get the case packet last minute, and every one of them, Jim Anders was the first. He said, "No, you made a rookie error. Don't cuss the inmate where anybody can hear you." I said, "Really, Jim?" He said, "Or go out in the parking lot and do it." He said, "There's no, everything is within policy or within the law, if not within policy." Kelly was next. He did the same. He said the same thing. There's nothing wrong with this. And Charlie, and then Chuck. And Chuck, I was worried because Jim Anders and Kelly and Charlie Johnson are friends of mine. So there's a bias there. I thought, okay, they're experts, but there's a bias there. And Chuck didn't know me from Adam's Off Ox. He finally contacted me when we finally got on the case packet. He said, "I see no unlawful conduct or unlawful intent." It's like, yes. So we get in there and we start the case, the trial, and Jim and Kelly and Chuck clubbed the DA like a baby seal on an ice floe. It was kind of heartbreaking to watch.
I did not get to see a
He got
bit
screwed.
of it.
My lawyer, if things went bad, he needed a character witness for the sentencing part. So Jim got to be the character witness. He had to stay outside. So
7 friggin' hours. I sat out in the hall twiddling my thumbs.
So the first three, they clubbed the DA like a seal on ice floe, and then Charlie Johnson came. Charlie's a good guy. He's very mild mannered, and this is obviously this is a guy in he rarefied atmosphere of medical stuff. No, he got on. He testified by Zoom, and the DA had two stupid questions, or multiple stupid questions. The first one was, "Dr. Johnson, have you ever heard of a fishhook? The fishhook maneuver?" And Charlie, who apparently did his ER rotations in some really vicious Chicago hospitals, said, "Oh yeah, that's an old Street Fighter trick." And DA went, "What? That old Street Fighter trick? Well, have you seen any damage?" And Charlie said, "No." "Oh yeah, there was a tear, but it healed without medical intervention." And the DA's changing tack really, really hard. And do you, doctor, believe that a loose handcuff is a deadly weapon? And Charlie said, "Yes. Put 112 stitches in an officer that got savaged with handcuffs before." And DA's like,
Yeah.
The fun part, they're talking about investigations, the investigation in the comments. We actually got the videos of the investigation where they rate my officers over the coals. And my legal experts have, I believe, incompetent was about the friendliest thing they had to say about that what the investigating officer was, how he was conducting his investigation.
And 2 good officers that worked for him lost their jobs.
Yeah. The DA asked, okay, there's an old saying, if the facts are on your side, pound the facts. If the law is on your side, pound the law. If neither the facts nor the law are on your side, pound the table. And as Kelly said, there was a lot of table pounding going on. I got to watch how the DA would have presented this to a jury. And I'm here to tell you, I am glad my lawyer managed to talk them into a bench trial. Because if it in front of a jury, the DA was hitting all the emotional high points. The fun part for me was there at the end when the DA was giving his closing arguments, and he told the judge, and I'm getting a transcript for this because I'm going to frame this part. He told the judge that that video of me elbowing that inmate was the most disgusting thing he'd ever seen. And disgusting, brutal, violent. And I'm looking at him going, if that's the most disgusting thing you've ever seen, Scooter, you might want to harden the fuck up because he goes downhill from here. Then he told the judge how the judge feel if one of his loved ones had been in that cell. And I could see the judge going, well, my loved ones don't do PCP, try to taser a nurse, get stupid in jail and have that done to them. And then the judge went back and took about 12 to 15 minutes for the judge to, he said, I'm going to read my notes, watch video, and I'll be right back. Well, he was back there long enough to go to the bathroom, pour a cup of coffee, go over his notes, and came back out. And he said, and I took this the wrong way, and with cool, looking back on things, it was quite obvious. But I'm standing there and he said, I have reviewed the video and I have questions. And I thought, well, fuck. I hope that Jim and Chuck get Rita out here before they put the handcuffs on. And then I started hearing static in amongst the tinnitus. And all I heard was, Miss McMurtry, I found you guilty. And I thought, crap. And he looked at my lawyer and said, prepare the acquittal paperwork. I went, wait a minute. Wait, acquittal paperwork? He looked at me. He said, good luck, Mr. McMurtry. You're free to go. And then he smiled. It's like, oh, I'm not guilty. Oh, okay.
By the way, I was having the same issues with that, with the sounds there, and I heard it about the way you did.
Apparently, the DA went out back to his office, both DAs, and had a conniption fit.
Yeah, as far as the two officers that ended up leaving the department, one basically quit in the middle of the interrogation, for lack of a better term.
No. He got done with the interrogation.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and then the officer demoted him, busted him all the way down to line jailer because he felt that my officer was lying to him. Not that he lied, that the investigators felt that he lied to him. Busted him in a line officer and left him on the same shift that he'd been shift sergeant for. So he walked out in the middle of shift. I can't say I blame him. Yeah, the DA, I was surprised one of the ladies didn't jump over the bar and claw his eyes out because Kelly was pop, 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 on medical stuff. And he finally looked at Kelly and said, what is your actual educational background? And Kelly said, I have an associate's degree in my chosen field. And the DA said, so community college. It's like, oh, you condescending little dick whistle. And Kelly said, yeah, and X, I think 200 or X number of hours of continuing ed hours every year for 30 years. But yeah. So it's all over and done with. We are discussing options. It's going to be extremely hard to sue them because they were smart enough to get not one but two grand juries to indict me, and they have legal coverage of, well, a grand jury of 12 good men and true found that there was enough that we needed, so we didn't have a choice. So they've got some legal cover there. So suing them is going to be extremely, extremely difficult. We are exploring other avenues, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to sue them. Maybe. And if so, we'll figure something out. Okay. And if you want to see the video on YouTube, Texoma's homepage, it'll be up there for a little longer probably. There's an abbreviated court video. You can watch me in all my glory doing things. And in the middle of the trial, they changed tax again.
Yeah. They
changed tax a dozen times. And then in the middle of the trial, they started out trial, and I was elbowing him in the head. And then, it's viciously elbowing the man in the head. I wasn't. And Chuck Haggard said if Lieutenant McMurtry had been elbowed in the head, he would have knots on his knots, and then I forget the medical term, damage up front.
Contusions.
Yeah, he said there'd be on both sides that are not reflected in the medical record. So then it was, what he did. They're going through the medical file and they find he was in kidney failure. He'd been in kidney failure for a while. Obviously, what McMurtry was doing caused kidney failure. And Charlie Johnson, bless his heart, they said, can these elbow strikes, doctor, cause kidney failure? And Charlie went, well, let's find out. I went, this is going to be good. He said, well, according to medical files, the inmate was in custody was at the hospital 10 days before the night question, and these were his stats. And then the night in question, before he went to jail, these were his stats. And then after he fell, he came back, and these were his stats. They were a little better. No, it didn't cause it. It's like, yes. That's what you get for asking questions you don't already know the answer for, numbnuts. Texoma's homepage. The transcript, I'm going to pay for a transcript. It's going to be expensive, but I want this transcript. There are several use of force experts that have contacted me about getting a transcript. There's something about what happened that's a pattern that some folks are seeing, and they're going to expound on it. That's not my. This whole case is following a pattern that some folks have seen, and they want the legal transcript. So I'm gonna get that and start dispersing copies.
There is a larger pattern, yes.
Not something we're going to discuss here. That's up to experts.
Yeah.
But this fits into a pattern that a lot of experts have been seeing. So
But this
I hate to be
also-
mysterious, but that's going to be up to somebody
This
else.
is also vindictive within the sheriff's department.
Oh, no kidding. Apparently, somebody at the sheriff's office during that month was going around telling everybody that the just watching the video made them sick to their stomach. It was just, oh my God, it was so awful. Made them like, seriously, if that makes you sick to your stomach, you don't need to be working law enforcement. You damn sure don't need to be working in the correction center.
Well, this is the same individual who had less than 2 months total time as a frontline jailer.
Not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going.
That plays into why the sheriff was so eager to throw you under the bus.
Again, there's the first order reason why, nearest we can tell, because nobody's talking, is federal civil rights violations have no statute of limitations. And if they could have found me guilty, or if I had eaten a plea bargain, if I had taken a plea bargain, all federal civil liability would have devolved from the county onto me. I didn't realize that. Chuck Haggard pointed it out.
George Floyd.
Yeah. So yeah, if sometime in the future somebody had decided to sue and I had taken a plea or been found guilty, it'd all be on me. The county would go, oh, that's on him. So that's the first order. Second order, there's again, it devolves into that pattern that people are starting to see.
Yeah, that and the fact that the county has no insurance. Which
my first sheriff would have had the same reaction that everybody that's seen the video and was at the trial. What this is a Saturday night use of force. This is a Saturday night use of force.
a lot of people want to know if the charge nurse is still there.
Don't know. I don't know a thing about the. I don't know a thing about the what goes on at the detention center anymore. I don't know who's there.
Yeah.
And I very consciously stayed out of it. I don't want to know. I am going to be a gentleman publisher and occasional author, and I'm going to have my record expunged and just drive on. My first sheriff, as long as we did choke holds, we did fish hooks. My first sheriff in teeny tiny little bug scuffle, the proper application of a shot to kidney to get somebody's attention was first taught to me by my first sheriff. I don't do that, but
Well, that was back in the day when law enforcement was respected,
well, it's also
not
up the
disrespected.
also up the Panhandle, which is
Yeah.
about a decade behind everybody
Yeah.
else. Remembering that in 1993, when I got out of Panhandle Regional Law Enforcement Academy, number 65, we were still training on revolvers.
Mhm.
Yeah, my retirement's fine. I'm drawing my full retirement, and I'll have it for the rest of my life. So I'm happy.
I just wish Johnny had lasted long enough to see you
Yeah,
quit
me
it.
too.
I'd love to see Johnny on the stand as an expert witness. Could you imagine the DA trying to go after him?
I would have used Johnny if I thought,
Yeah.
Johnny would have eaten him alive.
Yeah.
The ones I had ate him alive.
Yeah.
Where was I? Squirrels.
Yeah.
Anywho, so one of the things I learned. No, we'll get into that later. It's all over and done with. I'm going to move on with my life. Like I said, other options as far as something are being discussed. We'll see what happens. Personally, I feel it best to leave it in other people's hands. Retire to the life of a gentleman publisher, small publisher, and just not worry about this crap anymore.
Yep. Living well is the best revenge.
Yes. And I'll get expunged, and just not worry about it. Texas Panhandle is very western. One of the things that drives me nuts, this place is very southeastern. Texas, about down the middle. West part is western, east part is southeastern. A very southern southeastern culture versus out the Panhandle. It's a western culture, which is what I'm used to and what I like. Law enforcement out in the Panhandle is a little different than law enforcement down here. Very, 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 very much Old West. And I probably shouldn't have started out there. In other news, Saints of Malta went live yesterday. We're already doing rather well. Also, Cedar, Vulcan's Kittens, what that she had up for free. Y'all like free stuff, right? Vulcan's Kittens, Cedar Sanderson. Got a #1 in werewolf role-playing games or something.
Yeah.
We
How
have
the
no clue.
hell?
We have no clue. Daddy Warpig asked about what,
Yeah.
and we said we don't know.
Nobody knows. Werewolf Gaming.
And
Yeah.
there's no wolves in it.
Yes, you do, Brennan. Write your freaking story.
Something I forgot. As seems to happen with Raconteur Press, we seem to almost have enough. We have, I think, enough stories for Falcons of Malta. So I bumped two folks. I bumped Squirrels, Jonathan LaForce, and Paul Mauser. I bumped their stories to Falcons and forgot to tell them. I'm sorry, guys. I screwed the pooch on that one. I meant to tell y'all, but the whole trial, Squirrels, sorry. Their stories will appear in Falcons of Malta. We had too many stories. I had to bump them, and I forgot to tell them. And that is my bad. I am sorry about that.
Evelyn, somebody made a bullpup revolver.
Yes, that thing looks like
No.
bad idea. Now, a whole bunch of Hollywood arms makers or arms people need to get a hold of a couple of them because it's got science fiction written all over it.
Yeah.
But other than that, no.
That's almost as bad as that damn Boberg.
Oh, Boberg is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
But Boberg.
It's only interesting if your ammunition does not come apart when it flips.
Yes.
Minor problem.
The cylinder is actually sealed. It's sealed inside a clamshell. So you're not going to get burned, but you got to pop open the clamshell to access the cylinder. It's a squirrely. David, we are still taking submissions for Falcons. This is the last Malta anthology. Falcons is the last one. I'm done with Malta anthologies. If we have to run long, we'll run long. We'll run a big one. Yes, if you have a story, turn it in. Add it to the list.
Yeah, the article about the 80-year-old Finnish man using drills to make a belt-fed 22 machine gun. Yeah.
I just wish they'd publish the schematics for it.
Well, I'm sure the schematics are somewhere.
Yeah. I know somebody here in the States that made one.
So Falcons is going to be the last one. Lord have mercy, guys. So if you have more Malta stories, turn them in. If I have to put 20 stories in Falcons, I will. We try to go with 10 per anthologies because we learned from Three Ravens. God bless their hearts. So we're trying, but if I have to do 12, 15, or 20 stories in Falcons to dip this off, I will. Okay, so
The bird or the sword?
oh, are you in Malta? Is Tuvela in Malta?
No.
She's doing it in person, conducting
Oh.
Malta research in person.
Ah,
I'm so yes, she is. Apparently, she's in Malta. I'm so jealous. So jealous.
get me a recipe for the Maltese bread, please. That stuff is. God. You remember that bread?
Fatira.
Yeah.
Maltese bread's called Fatira. It's fantastic.
Much better than Italian.
Anyway, so yes, David, you do. Where was I? Squirrels. Closer. All squirrely. Anyway, so Saints is out. Falcons will come out somewhere along in here, but that's going to be the end of the Malta stories, I think. And as far as the consulate, I'm going to bundle up the last 3 and send them in one big bundle to the embassy and to the National Library of Malta. I'll send all 3 at once. I figure we didn't get any traction when I sent the first one, and I figure if I send the last 3 in a bundle, we might actually get some traction out of the Maltese on that one, which would be nice. And I've been talking, and I'm
Kermit's on a roll. Ford Falcon and Huevos Rancheros of Malta.
no,
I still think you're missing a bet by not doing smugglers.
Yeah.
no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Malta is. We need to
Need to get a
Move on.
copy of Knights of Malta to the Phillips County Library of Malta, Montana.
Okay. We could probably do that. I'm quite happy. Honestly, I'm quite happy to send copies to libraries.
Yeah.
And I'll send a 4-volume bundle.
Yeah.
If somebody will remind me when we get all of them out, I'll send a 4-volume bundle to the library, Malta Library in Montana.
Yeah.
How many volumes are you going to run Space Marines in? Or
So far, 2.
Well, Space Cowboys is the next one out.
Yeah, Space Cowboys is up next. Actually, the reissue Law Dog Files is up next.
Yeah.
We're redoing the Law Dog Files, and then Space Cowboys will be next, and then Pin Up Noir.
Oh, she sent you a picture of Jean de Valette statue.
I saw it. I didn't realize because John de Valette's he got some statues in Rome because they made statues of the man. He preserved Christianity. They made statues of man everywhere. I didn't realize y'all were in Malta when you took it. I thought you were in Rome.
All right, folks, we've wasted enough of your time today.
I apparently ran my gump something fierce.
Matter of fact, you got it all out.
Yes, and we're not gonna. Winkler original Law Dog Files still available. They're available on Amazon, but
He gets no money out of them, so
According-
don't buy 'em.
according to my publisher, they're not publishing on Amazon or publishing it anymore, according to my publisher. So if you're seeing any new from publisher, Those are allegedly from pirate site, and I'm not getting paid for them.
David, that's up to Ian and Courtney.
For Space Cowboys. Let us get stuff out of the way first. I've got some cleaning up to do from 2 years of being depressed. And Courtney is just, her squirrels are worse than mine right now. So
she doesn't have her meds.
doesn't have her meds. And so after the first year, get back with us on the Space Cowboys and we'll let you know. All right.
So remember, reach out to those folks that are friends, buddy check them. You know, prepare for 2023. Who the hell knows what it's going to bring?
Incoming.
Yeah. Incoming is right.
Yeah.
And remember, as always, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff.
Y'all be safe. Okay.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.